embark on a Savannah Safari Tour aboard a bus. So let's see what happens.
Taronga Western Plains Zoo's Savannah Safari Tour. To ensure you and your family enjoy the tour safely, please ensure arms remain inside the vehicle at all times. Please make use of the safety belt provided for the duration of the safari. Please ensure that cameras, hats, binoculars and other personal items that may be dropped remain inside the vehicle. In the event an item is dropped onto the exhibit, please advise the driver as soon as possible. Thank you for your assistance and we hope you enjoy your safari.
Good morning everybody, welcome aboard. My name is Sarah. I'm going to take you out here on our Savannah Safari. To the right we actually just have our zebras. They've just made their way over. You can see some of our, here's some giraffes as well, and then our rhinos are tucked right away, so we'll come back to our rhinos. But it's a pretty good view of our zebras at the moment, folks, so have a really nice look at them, because once you start looking at their patterns you should be able to see that they're quite different. So each individual zebra has their own pattern, just like our fingerprints, and these guys have vertical stripes on their faces and their necks, and then their stripes actually become horizontal as they make their way further down their back legs. So the three boys here, when they're first born, their mother actually takes herself away from the herd. She has her foal and then they study one another. So they have to actually work out who's who before they can go back to the herd. And our rhino Winston's just popped up, if you can look back a little bit further. It's always nice when you get to see them up and moving. Also with our zebras, these guys have the best camouflage. So imagine if there's over 1,000 zebras there, it'd be so hard for all of us to tell them apart. And the lion has the same trouble in the wild as well, and that's called the dazzle effect, where you can't see where one zebra finishes to where one zebra starts. But the hardest question of your morning, we might as well get it started straight away, is do we believe they've got white stripes or do we believe they've got black stripes, folks? What do we reckon? Black stripes? Good answer. Does anyone else want to go black or white? You go white? Alright. So it's actually believed that they do have the white stripes because their noses are dark, their feet are dark, and they're actually born dark and then the white appears. So fun little interesting fact there. So what we're going to do, folks, we're going to head up here, go a little bit further along, we'll see some antelope and then we'll come back and spend some time with the giraffes. But we do have one friend still at the back here, and this is in Janu, everyone. And feel free, guys, if the bus is stopped and the animal is on the other side and you can't see them that well, you can move to the opposite side, being not a full bus. So in Janu here, he's the second oldest giraffe that we have out here on our Savannah, and we've got all males, and he's pretty much the second tallest as well. So if you have a look at his head there, you should be able to notice that he's actually got a third ossicone. So he looks quite different in the face to the other three boys. and he's just hanging around this area because they would have seen their keeper this morning, because that's their night shelter over the back, and that's where they mostly go of winter time, or in winter time. And we barricaded off to prevent the other animals from going inside, so to prevent those cheeky rhinos from entering. So also with our giraffe, see how he's sort of staring out into the distance over there? These guys have very good eyesight. We reckon they can see around about 2 kilometres away at one given time. Hey mate. And then he'll hopefully start walking. By the time we go up here and do a bit of turnaround, he should start walking, and we might actually get him to walk along the side of the bus. So that you normally find that the zebras are quite happy to hang out with the giraffes, because the giraffes always see predators before they do. So you mostly always see that in the wild as well, because they're not always in together in captivity. So our next animal, our lovely strong eland, we're going to creep up to them, and they're going to be on our left hand side as well, folks. These guys are very impressive males. We've got our breeding group further around the hippos, but the eland, they mostly always hang together as a herd, and these guys are very good at protecting themselves. So if the predator comes over, like a lion or something, these animals throw all the young and the female in the middle. They create a circle or a barrier, and then all the males pop their heads out, and all the females show the predator their horns, and then the dominant male actually moves around the circle at the same time to protect them. So very similar to our cattle in Australia, but these guys, they actually get used for milk production over in Africa with the females. And you can hear them coming because they click, click in their kneecaps. But one of my favourite animals out here is coming up on our right. These little animals are called a blackbut, and they're so little cute and dainty looking animals. Yeah, their horns are awesome. So most of the boys either have spiraled horns, curved or straight. We've got one friend there that's got a bit of both in the middle, and then the females have no horns. So these females are the only females out here on our savannah. And our lovely little black buck, when the boys mature, they change colour from this brown sort of honey colour, and then they turn quite dark and become black. So that's where they got their name from. These guys are actually from Nepal. So a little bit of a trick out here on our African savannah, even though they're from Nepal. And they're also the fastest antelope in the world. Even though they're looking nice and relaxed on this Friday morning, these guys are really light on their feet, and they can actually travel at around 80 kilometers per hour. And we always, if you have a close look at them, we always mark the males in the right ear, because in some places they believe males are always right, but definitely not on this bus. Hey ladies. So if you have a look at that, you might notice that with other animals around the zoo today, they mark the males in the right as a universal indicator. So we hang the feet up for the giraffes, so the giraffes mostly walk around the exhibit for most of the day. And they also get browse, which hangs up the back here also. We've got 2 other friends up on the right hand side here. Can everyone see the ostriches? So we've got lovely Stoner to the right, and then we've got Hondu just a little bit further back. They've actually been hanging out together the last couple of days, which has been nice. Normally you find one's up the back here, one's down the bottom near Janu, and they go around pretty much protecting the boundaries. So they make sure that no one's entering or exiting the savannah. And it's always nice and easy to tell your males apart from your females, because the males have the darker feathers, so they end up sitting on the nest of a night while the girls go out and party. Not a bad little situation either. And they actually used to use the ostrich feathers in fashion. So those guys did get heavily hunted previously, but they're pretty good at the moment, not getting too much to attack out in the wild. So we've also just come past our accommodation, folks. We had our safari lodge just behind us, and then we also had our savannah cabins over to the far right hand side. Going past these lovely eland again on the left. So you might think he must have spotted something in the trees there. He's not too sure if he wants to leave yet or not. So the big guy's probably around 5.5 meters tall. And that's pretty much the maximum height for our giraffes. Did anyone get to see the baby giraffes out on the exhibit? Oh, that's great. They look like they're sort of moving away from mum yet, or they're staying pretty close still. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I had some people last week and they said they were like hanging up the back, but then other people said they were really close to the front for everyone to see, which is good. Yeah, definitely. Alrighty guys, we've got our 3 other male giraffes to the left, but we're also getting a lot closer to those zebras that we've seen when we first came onto the savannah. So if you wanted to change over to the right, you definitely can, because our cheeky rhinos have looked like they've rolled in the mud this morning, and now they're resting in the shade. And you can get another really good look at the pattern of the zebras, because you should be able to see some of the boys look a bit more brown, and then some of the other ones on the right there, they look a bit wider in their stripes. But they're pretty relaxed, the zebras. They normally get cheeky amongst themselves, play around a little bit. But they definitely get along with every other animal out here on our savannah. And if you have a look to the left, Kindu's just going for a nice little stroll. He's going into the shade of that umbrella. So just here on our right, folks, we've also got Winston and Humphrey. Winston's our larger white rhino to the right, and little Humphrey's just tucked away there in the sand. And these 2 boys came to us from Australia Zoo in Queensland. So they're absolutely very handsome. And if you take a look at them, they're constantly moving their ears around. So actually rhinos don't completely switch off when they're sort of looking like they're falling asleep or having a bit of a nap. So they're only 4 and 6 years of age, and if you've already seen our white rhinos in our breeding group, you would have noticed that these boys have got a lot more growing to do. So when they get to their sort of mature age, these boys will weigh in at around 2.5 tonnes, which is pretty much double Winston's size at the moment. So they'll become really big, really strong, and then they'll probably go back out into the zoo to continue breeding on. But these guys actually get really heavily hunted at the moment for their rhino horn. So in some countries they believe that it holds healing powers, or you can use it in medicine, but no evidence has ever been proven. And they use their horns mostly to dig for water in the wild and also to defend themselves. So being a white rhino, you're sociable. Being a black rhino, you're solitary. We'll head over here to our giraffes as well. They're having a little bit of a move around. So we've got young Kindu on the left. He's only about 10 years of age. And then we've got little Kaweezy, who can still get under the electric fence and he's only 6. And then we've got our oldest lovely big guy there to the right as well. So feel free to jump over to the left, guys. Hey, Queasy, what's happening? And the other guy's name on the right is a longie. And you should be able to notice that a longie is a lot darker than the other 2 boys. And the reason for that is because he's the dominant one, or the oldest. So you normally find your oldest giraffe is your most dominant, and then you would have seen that in the breeding group as well, with our dark Usami out there. Hey, Longie! And he's also got a lot of calcification bumps on his top of his head, and they use their head to defend themselves out in the wild, and also their ossicones. And with our giraffes, these guys get a little bit of eucalyptus as well, and you might see them pop their heads down, and they might also sit down mostly in the afternoon, but you only ever get to see them sit down in captivity. These guys would never ever risk it out in the wild, so it's always really special when you get to see them sit down. So you might have to do a bit of a hot lap around the zoo this afternoon, guys, if you're still here, and they might be sitting down having a bit of a snooze. Also with our giraffes, these guys pretty much weigh around just over 1,000 kilos, and we would hope that in captivity they would reach around 35 years of age. So Longie being 19, if he was out in the wild, that would be considered an extremely good age. So they've got short lifespan out in the wild, and that's because of predators getting left behind and that type of thing. So only the strongest of them definitely survive. They're nice and quiet though, aren't they? Just munching away, no worries in the world. Looking all nice and happy. It's quite funny when the ostrich comes over. They feel very confident and they get right underneath the legs of the giraffes. I definitely wouldn't be doing that. But they try and pick up all the loose pieces of grain out of the hay. So with our elephants, folks, if you wanted to see them again, or if you've seen them for the first time today, they'll be starting to let them out now. They just go through quite an intensive routine in the mornings, and then that little Ken layer will be coming out as well with her mum.
We're at the Asian elephants, and there are a couple of babies here, so let's see if we can catch a glimpse. Oh, there they are. They just came into the enclosure, obviously trying to scare the ducks away. Couple of babies. Probably a baby and a teenager. Oh, they're chasing the carrots. Of course the teenager has to run away. Baby's looking for the carrots. He found the carrot.
So this is Pontiac's second calf. Her firstborn calf was Paddy Hahn, born down in Sydney, and this calf here being a female, and also is only the second calf born here in Dubbo, so we're all very excited. So the calf is out on exhibit with Mum Pontiac, her auntie Tom D, and also her cousin Safar, who was born in late 2016. So the calf can be seen out on exhibit between 10 AM and 2 PM, and during the other hours, all of our other birds will be available for viewing.
Yeah, she checks the